Should President Biden shake Donald Trump's hand? Does he deserve that?
Well, that's up to President Biden. And I'm sure there's no love lost there. I wouldn't shake his hand.
Yes, Cedric Richmond of the Biden campaign. I wouldn't shake his hand. Would you stab him or something? Maybe shoot him? What would you do? Democrats, they're not really, they're not normal people. You don't want them as neighbors or relatives or co-workers. As former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Cedric Richmond. I wouldn't shake his hand. Sure. What would you do? They don't want to get along. They don't want, pleasantries and politeness. They're not liberals. They're the left. He used to work with Anita Dunn, who loves Chairman Mao, the commies. That's Cedric Richmond of the Biden presidential campaign. Isn't that remarkable? He's the director of the Office of Public Engagement. And isn't that wonderful? The senior advisor to the President of the United States, too. I wouldn't shake his hand. Yeah. Maybe a car bomb. What do you say, Cedric Richmond? Sure, that's it. Amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party. He's a Democrat. New Orleans, very corrupt city, very corrupt, crime-ridden city. Democrats like it that way. They love crime. That's because so many of them are criminals, and their children and all that stuff. I got an idea. Stop shooting people. How about that? Just a thought. Isn't that wonderful? And as for the Democrats, they're the party of everything bad, of transgendered children, of sexual assault, and they're the party of Bill Clinton and Anthony Weiner, and the list goes on and on. Standing ovations for Roman Polanski, and they led by Harvey Weinstein, and they're the party of Jeffrey Epstein and Epstein Island and Lolita One and all that stuff. They're not the party of good people. They're the party of letting criminals go back on the street, illegal aliens, gang members, open borders. And now we find out, wild as it may seem, that ISIS, the Islamic State, has an organization dedicated to smuggling illegal aliens into the United States. And we got a report from our stinking federal government that the people at NBC Fake News even reported on it. DHS, that's the Department of Homeland Security, but we have to abbreviate everything, identifies over 400 migrants brought to the U.S. by an ISIS-affiliated human smuggling network. Oh, is that going to be a problem of any kind? Because the Democrats are like, is that frowned upon? Because we're okay with ISIS, the Islamic State, since these are the guys from Obama to Biden that fund the Ayatollahs in Iran and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, terrorists extraordinaire. But never mind that. Over 150 of these 400 illegal aliens smuggled in by ISIS have been arrested. Now, remember, September 11th was carried out by 19 radical Islamic jihadis, maybe 20 if you want to add the odd man out. Over 150 have been arrested, but the whereabouts of over 50 remain unknown. Now, there's a math problem there, isn't there? But that's NBC News, because that brings you only to 200. But they just told me that over 400 have been brought in by the ISIS-affiliated human smuggling network. And ICE, that's another abbreviation, and in fact an acronym, Immigration Customs Enforcement, is looking to arrest them on immigration charges when they are found. The Democrats are giving them plane tickets and work permits and free cars and keys to your daughter's bedroom, because that's your Democrat Party. The Department of Homeland Security has identified over 400 immigrants from Central Asia. That'd be the stands, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan and all your stands. And that's you're essentially a hotbed of radical Islamic jihadism. And elsewhere, who crossed into the U.S. in the past 3 years, that is to say, during Joe Biden's presidency, subjects of concern, that's what they call them, because they were brought by an ISIS-affiliated human smuggling network. 3 U.S. officials tell NBC News. While over 150 of them have been arrested, the whereabouts of over 50, see how the math doesn't add up here, remain unknown, the officials said. The Immigration Customs Enforcement people looking to arrest them on immigration charges when they are located. I might say if they are located, and maybe they should be located before they are smoldering holes of charred human flesh, because, of course, Democrats are self-immolating these days, too. One of the U.S. officials said people affiliated with ISIS were operating as human smugglers in Central America and helped people there leave their countries and travel to the West, where they are then smuggled into the United States. It is not known whether the human smuggling activity directly funds ISIS activity or whether ISIS members are making personal money through human smuggling on the side, U.S. officials said. Pretty amazing stuff. One official added to NBC News that the U.S. has no indication that the more than 400 migrants brought into the U.S. by the ISIS network have plans to carry out terrorism in the United States. We'll just find out the old-fashioned way. We'll wait and see what happens. But immigration agents are looking to arrest them out of, I love this, an abundance of caution. What with ISIS and everything. These are the guys that kidnap people, kneel them on the ground in rows in orange jumpsuits, and cut all their heads off with rusty hand-held knives, blades. Unlike, some of the machetes that are used by the MS-13 people that the Democrats are bringing into the country. Boy, just amazing stuff, isn't it? Yes, it is. Now, Alejandro Mayorkas, who is not on our side at all, and boy, is he not on our side. He's just not on our side. He held something of a press conference in Tucson, Arizona yesterday, and he was asked a couple of questions about this and other things in the open border. And what did he do, Michael? What did he do? He lied. He lied a lot. Here's if we were in Britain, he'd be Sir Lie-a-Lot. If he were a member of the Knights of the Round Table, he'd be Sir Lie-a-Lot. Sir Lie-a-Lot. When I was working at CNN, and I was on the assignment desk as an assignment editor in the Washington bureau for CNN for quite some time, and the cameramen there, the cameramen and soundmen, many of whom are good friends of mine and very funny, and they would make fun of. And the people, they used to make fun of the people on the assignment desk because we would harass them and harangue them and dispatch them all day long, and usually too late and all that stuff. And the cameramen, union guys, and the newsroom, non-union, and they would make fun of the people on the assignment desk. And they would, at one point, they were giving people on the assignment desk Knights of the Round Table names, right? And for example, there was one assignment editor who was quite rotund, overweight, and they named him Circumference. See, he was Circumference, and that was his nickname. And then there was one assignment editor who was well known for drinking a lot of alcohol. He later gave it up, but drinking lots and lots of alcohol all the time. And he was Sir Osis of Liver. See, he was Sir Osis of Liver, because like a Bugs Bunny Knights of the Round Table name. And so so he gets a Knights of the Round Table name too, Mayorkas, and he sure lies a lot because he sure lies a lot. Here's Mayorkas yesterday in Tucson, and tell you about the border and how great everything is, that we've got millions and millions and millions of literally illegal aliens in the country just on Joe Biden's watch. and that there are gang members and women being murdered and teenage girls being raped and murdered, and we're catching the illegal aliens here and there, but not all of them. And the news media doesn't want to talk about it because it's not good for their party, the Democrat Party. And here's Alejandro Mayorkas, Sir Lies a Lot.
I just received an operational briefing on the success of the president's actions so far
Success.
here in the Tucson sector and along our southern border.
Along
the president's actions are working because of their tough response to illegal crossings. The safety and security of the American public is indeed our highest priority. The individual who is responsible for a heinous criminal act is the criminal, and we need to bring the full force of the law to bear on that criminal.
Yeah, but you've waved how many hundreds of thousands or millions of criminals into the country. Each one of them committed a crime, crossing illegally into the country. Each one of them is illegally in the country every day when they wake up in somebody else's bed. And, you know, why is that a problem? So the success, the great success, it's evident everywhere of the president's programs. He undid, 94 different executive orders of President Trump, opened up the border, stopped dealing firmly with Mexico and helping to deal with this. President Trump had it right. Joe Biden is corrupt, has betrayed our country, and could care less about the girls and women being raped and murdered. And we haven't even gotten into the drunk driving deaths from drunk illegal aliens and everything else. But there's Sir Lies a Lot, just amazing. Then a reporter asked a question about, I told you this story a couple of weeks ago, 8 men from Tajikistan that got into the United States. They were captured. They're radical Islamic terrorist ties in New York, Philadelphia, and Los Angeles. Why would that be a problem? A reporter asked a question about those guys.
Your department recently arrested 8 men from Tajikistan due to terrorism-related concerns. Is your department taking any new steps to better screen, identify, and detain migrants who may pose a threat to national security? And are there other migrants out there released by your department that you are concerned about from a national security perspective?
Nah. Me? No. What, me worry? Honestly. And Mayorkas, Sir Lies a Lot, circumference and cirrhosis of liver, because nice guys, both nice guys. Circumference and cirrhosis of liver. But that was and he didn't even get to, maybe the story hadn't broken by this time yesterday, but maybe it had, about the 400 people coming in that are smuggled in by ISIS. Not a problem. Mayorkas responded to the question about the 8 from Tajikistan.
That reporting is incorrect. We do not have identified 400 people with potential ISIS ties.
We do not have identified?
Let me again assure you that individuals who are identified to have those ties would pose a concern to us from a public safety and a security perspective, and they would be priorities for detention and removal.
Now, wait a minute. Did he just find himself being asked a question about 8 from Tajikistan, and he answered the question about 400 from NBC News? Maybe he was briefed on that. Again, a reporter asks, this is when the question of the NBC News report, which had apparently just broken, and Mayorkas was asked about it at the press conference yesterday.
Calling that initial NBC report inaccurate over the 400 potential ISIS ties?
I think it is inaccurate.
He thinks it's inaccurate. He thinks that it's not really a good report. You're calling NBC News liars? I've got more from Sir Lies a Lot over here. Remarkable stuff. And this crazy judge in Houston, Texas, just amazing. Democrats are out of their minds. I think that's as polite as you can get about that. Amazing. Hey, are you kind of tired of and bored with buying those HEPA filters over and over again for your air purification at home? Well, say goodbye to nasty home odors and to those expensive filters that you have to replace over and over again by getting the Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier. We've got 2 of them at home ourselves. The Thunderstorm eliminates bad smells, and it eliminates the need to buy those filters and replace them over and over again because of Oxy technology. Odors in your home will disappear in a matter of seconds. Nasty smells from dirty laundry and litter boxes and even leftists, if you have any, neighbors or relatives. No match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. And no more filters to buy and replace again and again, month after month. Just turn on your Eden Pure Thunderstorm and forget about it. Works quietly in the background, cleaning and freshening the air in your home or office. Place a Thunderstorm in the bedroom, in the basement, in your teenager's room. Bring one to the office. Aren't they great? They make great gifts, too. And right now, you can save $200 when you get the 3-pack for whole home protection. All you have to do is visit EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, C-H-R-I-S, and the number 3. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. Yeah, more from Mayorkas. Oh, so 400 smuggled in by ISIS. No, the president's policies are working great. We live in an English-speaking version of the Soviet Union. The left-wing radicals at Mediaite have a story today. Michelle Obama. A picture of Michelle leering at Joe Biden. Looks like maybe at a State of the Union or something. Michelle Obama reportedly refusing to campaign for Biden over mistreatment of Hunter's ex-wife. And this is kind of a remarkable story. It turns out that when Hunter Biden divorced his wife, Kathleen Buell, the Joe Biden family rejected Kathleen Buell and abused her verbally and psychologically in every imaginable way, to the point that Michelle Obama, who's not the nicest person in the world, is outraged and dripping with disdain and anger and rage for Joe Biden because of the way that the Biden family treated Hunter Biden's now ex-wife while he was off with Russian hookers and strippers and, knocking up and da-da-da. But Kathleen Buell, Obama and Buell developed a friendship during Barack Obama's presidency that continues to this day. And Kathleen Buell testified in court during Hunter Biden's gun trial and had previously angered the family by exposing lurid details of Hunter's life. And so Joe Biden and the Biden family have treated her so abusively, Hunter Biden's long-suffering ex-wife, that Michelle Obama wants nothing to do with Joe Biden, with his campaign, with the Biden family, because she thinks they're a bunch of skeezers. The propaganda apparatus of the Democrat Party is quite extraordinary, isn't it? Now, a left-wing radical by the name of Steve Kornacki at MSDNC, he rolls up his sleeves and does their, magic board. He's got an X account, and he tweeted out 3 polls released in the last 24 hours all show a sizable gap between Trump's and Biden's favorable/unfavorable ratings. Steve Kornacki posted these because he's in a panic. He is, of course, a Biden, kissy boy. He's a Biden boy, the bootlick for the Democrat Party. But it is quite remarkable. The Quinnipiac poll, as posted by left-wing MSDNC guy Steve Kornacki, the Quinnipiac poll shows Joe Biden with a 38% favorable rating and a 57% unfavorable rating. That's very bad. President Trump with a 44% favorable rating, which is 6 points higher than Joe Biden, and a 51% unfavorable rating, which is 6 points better than Joe Biden. That's the Quinnipiac poll. The Gallup poll shows Joe Biden with 37% favorable. That's very bad. And 61% unfavorable. That's even worse than the Quinnipiac poll. President Trump with a 46% favorable and 52% unfavorable. The American people are not really loving this whole thing. I think that shows nobody has an actual favorable, 50% or better favorable rating. But still, President Trump in the Gallup poll doing an awful lot better than Joe Biden in the favorable ranks. President Trump with a 9% higher rating than Joe Biden, 37% to 46%, right? And the unfavorable rating, Biden has 61% unfavorable compared to Trump's 52% unfavorable. Nobody's doing really great in these polls, I got to say, but Joe Biden is doing a heck of a lot worse than Donald Trump in these polls. The New York Times Siena poll has Joe Biden with 38% favorable. Again, he doesn't get out of the 30s when it comes to favorability ratings from Quinnipiac, from Gallup, from the New York Times. He doesn't get out of the 30s when it comes to favorability rating. And the New York Times with Joe Biden, 38% favorable, 59% unfavorable. Very bad, very, very bad. President Trump with a 46% favorable and 52% unfavorable. These are not great numbers for President Trump, but they're terrible, horrible, tragic numbers for Joe Biden and the Democrats. You know how they are. Yes, you do. Also, a crazy story out of Washington, D.C., the Wuhan Red Death out of Wuhan, China, where they have the Wuhan Institute of Virology, where they got funding from Anthony Fauci with U.S. taxpayer dollars. That really shut down Washington, D.C. and the federal government for a long, long time. And now the report is only 6% of federal employees are working full-time in the office. Not 10%, not 60%, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6% of federal government employees are working full-time and going into the office. How about that? That's because your Democrat Party, amazing stuff. Richard Hanania with the story. Only 6% of federal employees working full-time in the office. In August, the Biden administration asked them to return to work. Now, that's almost a year ago. Well, it's 10 months ago. A union representative responds that government workers are heroes, and they don't have to show up if they don't want to. You're all fired. Let's fire everybody and start the government over again. What do you think? And how many years is this going to go on? The answer is forever. Why? Commies. Dirty, rotten, stinking commies. Telling you. Amazing times we're in. Yes, sir. Just remarkable. Now, there was a kind of an amusing moment at the Baltimore Orioles baseball game last night. And there were people there, people from Baltimore. It's the derogatory term is Baltimoreans. They call them Baltimoreans, right? They're Baltimoreans, and the Baltimoreans in the baseball game in Baltimore, it's a great city with a lot of problems because of all the Democrats. But the fun started when some leftists there, Democrats, pulled out Palestinian flags. They pulled out Palestinian flags, and the crowd didn't respond very well. And it wasn't everybody in the entire stadium because not everybody saw them, but they had people around them, the Palestinian flag-loving people, the Jew-hating Democrats, because, the Democrats, they hate the Jews. It's kind of a crazy thing. But fans holding the Free Palestine flags were tossed from Camden Yards. This is pretty wild because it got kind of funny. Orioles kick out fans waving Free Palestine flags at Camden Yards. Fans booed and jeered as the demonstrators continued to wave the flag while being escorted out. How about that? Fans holding Free Palestine flags were tossed from Camden Yards during a Baltimore Orioles, Cleveland Guardians, they're the Guardians now, on Wednesday night. Videos from the Baltimore Sun's Jacob Calvin Meyer where they caught the moment in Camden Yards. Security walked down to the seats close to the field behind home plate. Naturally, they have the most expensive seats in the stadium, and ordered the fans to leave. Ordered, you are ordered to leave. Raus, or. 3 fans were spotted, 2 of whom waved their flags as they walked up the steps. Fans booed and jeered the demonstrators before the video ended. And we have it for you. At least we have the audio portion of these events at Camden Yards. You know, there are a lot of normal people in Baltimore. And there are a lot of Democrat criminals who go around shooting people, too. But this is the audio portion of a video that was shot during this episode. There was a lot of cursing. Get the heck out of here. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah, you.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Yes, sir. Yeah, one of my best friends in Washington is from Baltimore, Randy, who runs the Chris Plant store, the all kinds of stuff, and a lot of regular people come from Baltimore. That's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, you.
I wonder, it's the Democrats everywhere they go. They're making friends and influencing people. They're not on the side of civilization. And the lunatics, the Democrats, they got their big, oversized Palestinian flag. They got their big, more than one flag. The free Palestine. Palestine was free until October 6th, and then they started murdering everybody and raping and kidnapping everybody. Before that, we had a 2-state solution because the Gaza is more than twice the size of Washington, D.C., and they got a couple million people allegedly living there, and they've got 25 miles of Mediterranean seafront property, and they turned it into a festering boil on the buttocks of humanity because that's their culture. Not all cultures are created equal. Our culture is superior to their culture. See? Cultural superiority. See? What is it? Cultural imperialism. There it is. I tell you. We haven't gone to a telephone call in a long, long time. And while we still have a lot to go to, the crazy judge in Houston named Hidalgo and they're on the side. Oh, and these Democrat members of Congress on Capitol Hill who could care less about 12-year-old girls being kidnapped, raped, and murdered. I don't care. I'm a member of Congress from Philadelphia. Oh, excuse me, Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh, Democrat. We'll get to that too, I hope. Right now, let's go to Jonathan calling from Winchester, Virginia. Jonathan, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks as always.
You betcha.
Hey, so I told the call screener, I'm a defense contractor, 26 years in the Army, and then the last 12 years as a contractor. So, I know part of the audience probably thinks I'm part of the problem. But today, I had to take my annual that every active duty reservist, government employee, contractor has to take on trafficking in persons. And man, I had to go through this 1-hour briefing on why it's wrong and, had to read all the different, regulations about trafficking in human beings, in prostitution, and then I was thinking about it while listening to the first part of your show. It's like this administration is part of that problem, and there's one slide is don't help the perpetrators, and I'm like, this government, this administration, I should say, is the perpetrator, because they're letting illegals in, and that's going to lead to prostitution and child trafficking and rape and murder, and they're just enabling it. I'm sorry, man. It just coincidentally happened with this mandatory training I had to have, and I was like, wow, such irony.
Yeah,
Anyway,
mandatory left-wing training.
I'm calling.
No, I appreciate that. And, a lot of corporate environments and government environments have this left-wing indoctrination training on all kinds of things. When a transgender dwarf from Papua New Guinea who comes from a long line of cannibals who might have eaten Joe Biden's uncle in World War II but probably didn't, show up at your front doorstep, you have to bend over backward to accommodate them. And Jonathan, you say you did 26 years in the Army and now you're working for a defense contractor, and they're forcing this left-wing propaganda down your throat.
Yeah, I mean, it's annual training. You have to take a series of 1-hour classes, about 12 of them. And again, I work for one of the 3-letter agencies that's not one of the bad ones.
Uh-huh. That's harder and harder. Well, I tell you what, Jonathan, God bless you, and I'm saluting you. I'm saluting you now. And you reminded me of another story that I've got in front of me today because, this stuff, the tentacles of the crazy left, they reach everywhere and into corporate America and to United Airlines, for example. This is a remarkable story that kind of goes with what you're talking about here, Jonathan. And I thank you for everything, and good luck with all of the traps that are put out there. Texas mom claims she was kicked off United Airlines plane for accidentally misgendering a flight attendant. A Texas woman traveling with her 16-month-old son and with her mother says she was kicked off of her flight home Wednesday after she accidentally misgendered a flight attendant. Jenna Longoria, a women's health and hormone expert from outside of Austin, Texas, was boarding her flight around 9 a.m. at San Francisco International Airport. Perfect. When she said she slipped up and addressed the crew member by the wrong pronoun multiple times. Now, she posted a video of herself, and here is Jenna Longoria explaining what happened.
We were denied boarding, myself, my 16-month-old son, my mother. They took our luggage on the plane, which has my thyroid medication, which I'll be very sick without, my mother's medication. They basically said tough luck. And they won't tell me exactly what I said, but what happened, and I will tell you what happened right now. I was speaking to one of the flight attendants, got their pronouns wrong. The other flight attendant didn't like it. I said, I'm really sorry. I'm not very versed with pronouns. I was holding my son. He was having a temper tantrum. I had the car seat on my back. I wasn't really focusing on anything except getting my son's car seat on the flight and getting him comfortable and safe, and him, because now it's his nap time. You can see he's kind of fallen asleep. They're saying that it's a hate crime that I did, that I might not even be able to ever fly United. We don't even know how we're going to get back today. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what my rights are here.
You don't have any rights. The left is here. Deutschland über alles, with gender dysphoria built in. I did some research on this morning, and I found articles from years gone by, from the last couple of years. 2021, United Airlines sets new diversity goal, 50% of students at new pilot training academy to be women and people of color. Because, when I get on a plane, I want to make sure that the melanin levels of my pilot are appropriate. And United Airlines from 2023 unveiled their next phase of brand new flight attendant uniforms to include name tag with employees' pronouns, their gender pronouns. And they were very proud of that just last year. 2 years after Roe v. Wade was overturned, turns out after 65 million abortions and more abortions last year in the United States than we had in more than a decade after Roe was overturned. Just amazing stuff. A great organization called Preborn honors the souls that never had a chance to take their first breath. Each and every one of those people could have grown up to be something extraordinary. The abortion pill also accounts for about 64% of abortions in the United States, but every day in America, Preborn's network of clinics stands strong for these unborn babies and for the mothers, offering free ultrasounds to show the mothers with unplanned pregnancies the life growing inside of them. And once a mother sees the baby and hears the heartbeat, turns out she's maybe twice as likely to choose life. And I'm asking you, will you join Preborn and the Chris Plant Show in defense of unborn babies? One ultrasound costs just $28. And if you're a business owner, perhaps you can consider a larger donation. All gifts are tax deductible and could reach eternity, couldn't they? Get involved today. All you have to do is dial pound 250 on your cell phone. Say the keyword baby when you're prompted. That's pound 250. The keyword is baby. Or you can go online to preborn.com/plant. That's preborn.com/PLANTE. And rest assured, 100% of your tax-deductible donation will go toward helping save babies and their wonderful mothers. Yes, sir. A little technical hiccup. These things happen in technical businesses. All right, what will we get to in the minutes we have remaining? So much to get to, so little time. Tonight is the big debate. Illegals are swarming across our border, including the Eagles brought in by ISIS. Well, I've run out the clock on myself once again today, sadly. Story that New Yorkers are now armoring and bulletproofing their Range Rovers and their Mercedes-Benz automobiles, just like in third world countries, because the Democrats are succeeding.